Let's get right into it. Number 10. Lead everything. Imagine inventing plumbing and accidentally deciding the best material for it is the same thing that slowly turns your brain into pudding. That's ancient Rome. These people built aqueducts that still make modern engineers sweat, and then lined their pipes with lead because it was easy to shape, didn't rust, and, minor downside, leached poison into literally everything they drank. And it wasn't just the pipes. Roman cookware? Wine storage? Wine sweetener? Also lead, because apparently grapes weren't sweet enough without a light neurotoxin garnish. There was even a popular syrup made by boiling grape juice in lead pots, which produced lead acetate, also known as sugar of lead. Delicious. Deadly. Very on brand. So picture yourself as a Roman aristocrat. You're wealthy, well-fed, hydrated, and slowly being chemically persuaded to make terrible decisions. Chronic lead exposure causes mood swings, infertility, memory loss, and aggressive behavior. In other words, the Roman elite weren't just decadent, they were medically unhinged. This helps explain a lot. Political chaos. Bizarre cruelty. Emperors declaring themselves gods, horses becoming senators, everyone stabbing everyone else over dinner. Historians still debate how much lead contributed to Rome's decline, but here's the thing. Even a little brain poisoning goes a long way when you're running an empire. Basically, Rome didn't fall. It quietly drank itself stupid through a straw made of lead. Number 9. Cosmetic death traps. You know how beauty standards are painful now? Ancient civilizations looked at that concept and said, what if it also killed you? Take ancient Egypt. Famous for eyeliner, dramatic aesthetics, and accidentally rubbing heavy metals into their eyeballs. That iconic black coal wasn't just charcoal. It often contained lead-based compounds. Egyptians believed it protected against eye infections and evil spirits. And to be fair, it did kill bacteria. It just also poisoned the person wearing it. Small trade-off. Then there's ancient Greece and Rome again, because of course they're back. Pale skin was fashionable, so people used white face powder made from, you guessed it, lead. Women applied it daily, wondering why their skin rotted, their hair fell out, and they felt tired all the time. The answer was not bad vibes. It was poison. Even worse, these cosmetics were status symbols. The richer you were, the more poison you could afford to smear on your face. Beauty wasn't just pain, it was a slow, glamorous suicide pact. Imagine waking up, applying your makeup, and unknowingly speedrunning organ failure. All for the aesthetic. Ancient influencers truly walked so modern skincare warnings could run. In short, ancient beauty routines were less self-care and more chemical warfare against your own body. Number 8. The bread that fought back. Bread is supposed to be safe, comforting, a universal symbol of everything is fine. Ancient civilizations somehow turned it into a hallucinogenic health hazard. Enter ergot, a fungus that grows on grains like rye. When conditions are right, it infects crops and produces toxins that cause convulsions, psychosis, and vivid hallucinations. And the kicker? Ancient people had no idea it existed. They just ate the bread and assumed the universe was mad at them. Symptoms included burning sensations, muscle spasms, and gangrene so severe limbs would fall off. This was called St. Anthony's fire, because when your bread makes you feel like you're on fire, you start blaming saints. But here's the weird part. Ergot also contains compounds related to LSD. So entire villages could be tripping simultaneously, seeing visions, hearing voices, and deciding gods were angry, demons were loose, or witches needed to be dealt with. Congratulations. You didn't anger the gods. Your toast did. Imagine trying to build a civilization while your staple food occasionally turns your population into feverish prophets with rotting limbs. That's not divine punishment. That's mold. Basically, ancient societies weren't always cursed. Sometimes they were just eating bread that chose violence. Number 7. Mercury Medicine. If you lived in ancient China and wanted to live forever, congratulations, you were one spoonful away from dying faster. Mercury was a big deal in ancient alchemy. It was shiny, mysterious, and did that cool liquid metal thing that makes it look like it's alive. Naturally, alchemists concluded, this must be the secret to immortality. Because if something looks magical, it probably prevents death. That's just science. Emperors obsessed over eternal life consumed mercury-based elixirs that promised vitality, longevity, and spiritual transcendence. What they actually got were tremors, paranoia, kidney failure, and a dramatically shortened lifespan. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, likely died from mercury poisoning while trying very hard not to die at all. The irony is aggressive. Mercury toxicity affects the nervous system. It makes you irritable, anxious, unstable, basically like your brain is buffering but never loads. Over time, it damages organs and slowly dismantles you from the inside out. But the symptoms might have seemed mystical. Shaking? Spiritual energy. Mood swings? Cosmic transformation. Organ failure? Minor setback on the road to eternity. And it wasn't just China. Across civilizations, mercury popped up in ointments, medicines, and rituals. People used it to treat skin conditions and infections. Because if something is strong enough to kill bacteria, surely it's gentle enough for your bloodstream. Imagine desperately chasing immortality and accidentally inventing self-destruction smoothies. Ancient medicine really said, you can't die if something else kills you first. In summary, mercury didn't grant eternal life. It just guaranteed a very dramatic exit. Number 6. The Arsenic Wallpaper. Fast forward a bit, and suddenly everyone is decorating their homes with poison. In the 18th and 19th centuries, a gorgeous shade of green pigment called Scheele's green became wildly popular. It was vibrant, trendy, and made walls look like nature exploded indoors. It was also made with arsenic. Now imagine you're living in a slightly damp house, which, historically, was most houses. The moisture reacts with the arsenic pigment, producing toxic fumes. So your stylish wallpaper is quietly releasing poison gas while you eat dinner beneath it. Cozy. People complained of headaches, nausea, breathing problems, mysterious illnesses. Doctors were confused. Homeowners were confused. The wallpaper, meanwhile, was just sitting there like, don't mind me. Arsenic interferes with cellular respiration. That means it basically tells your cells, no more oxygen for you, and then watches everything unravel. Chronic exposure leads to weakness, nerve damage, and, in extreme cases, death. But because symptoms were vague and slow building, no one suspected the walls. Some historians even speculate that Napoleon Bonaparte may have suffered from arsenic exposure due to the green wallpaper in his exile home. Imagine conquering Europe and being defeated by interior design. The ultimate twist? People loved the colors so much that they ignored early warnings. Fashion over function. Aesthetic over survival. A tale as old as humanity. In short, ancient and not-so-ancient civilizations didn't just poison themselves with food and medicine. Sometimes they just redecorated. Number 5. Fermented Oops. Alcohol has been around basically as long as civilization. And for the most part, it's just mildly toxic in the socially acceptable way. But sometimes ancient fermentation went rogue. When you ferment grains or fruits improperly, or store alcohol in contaminated containers, you can accidentally produce methanol instead of ethanol. Ethanol gets you tipsy. Methanol gets you blind. Literally. Methanol metabolizes into formaldehyde and formic acid inside your body. Yes, formaldehyde. The stuff used to preserve dead things. Your liver basically turns your party into a biology lab accident. Ancient brewers didn't have gas chromatography to check purity levels. They had vibes. If a batch tasted weird but still got you drunk, that was considered a success. Until people started going blind, convulsing, or dying mysteriously after what was supposed to be a fun evening. Imagine gathering with your community to celebrate a good harvest, taking a sip, and your optic nerves just quietly logging off. No warning label. No recall notice. Just surprise chemistry. And here's the kicker. Because alcohol was often safer than water, since fermentation kills some pathogens, people relied on it daily. So when contamination happened, it didn't just hit one reckless guy. It hit entire villages. Basically, ancient happy hours sometimes came with a side of accidental embalming fluid. Number 4. The toxic tanning trend. Some ancient cultures didn't just fear the sun. Others weaponized it. In parts of the ancient world, particularly among Greeks and Romans, certain skin treatments involved applying plant-based oils and compounds that made the skin more sensitive to sunlight. The idea was to achieve a specific glow or treat skin conditions. The reality was basically turning yourself into a photosensitive experiment. One infamous plant involved in this mess was giant hogweeds, ancient relatives, and other sorrelin-containing plants. Sorrelins react with ultraviolet light. Translation: you rub this on your skin, step into the sun, and your body says, "Oh, we're doing chemical burns now?" This reaction, called phytophotodermatitis, can cause severe blistering, inflammation, and long-lasting skin damage. So imagine strolling into the Mediterranean sunshine, feeling fabulous, and then watching your skin erupt like you just angered a solar deity. And because ancient medicine operated on a try-it-and-see system, people kept using these treatments. Skin problems? Apply plant extract. Stand in sun. Hope for the best. If it works, genius. If it doesn't, well, you now have dramatic scars and a compelling origin story. The irony is beautiful. Civilizations that worshipped sun gods were also accidentally discovering how to weaponize UV radiation against themselves. In essence, they weren't just sunburned. They were chemically negotiating with the sun and losing. Number 3. The deadly sweet tooth. Honey is safe. Sugar is safe. Sweet things make life bearable. But sometimes, nature sprinkles in a little chaos. In ancient Turkey, Greek soldiers once encountered what's now called mad honey. This honey comes from bees that feed on certain rhododendron species containing granulotoxins. The result? Honey that looks innocent and tastes normal, but messes with your nervous system like it's pressing random buttons. When consumed in large amounts, mad honey can cause dizziness, vomiting, low blood pressure, hallucinations, and even temporary paralysis. Historical accounts describe entire groups of soldiers collapsing after indulging in what they thought was a sweet victory snack. Xenophon, a Greek historian, wrote about troops becoming disoriented and unable to stand after eating local honey. Not exactly the warrior energy you want before battle. Granulotoxins interfere with sodium channels in your cells, which are essential for proper nerve signaling. So your body's electrical system basically short circuits. Your heart rate drops. Your brain feels like it's on airplane mode. You go from heroic conqueror to confused puddle in record time. And here's the strategic twist. Locals reportedly used this toxic honey deliberately to weaken invading armies. That's right. The bees were part of national defense. Imagine conquering foreign lands only to be defeated by toast topping. In short, sometimes the sweetest things in life come with a neurological plot twist. Number 2. The water that wasn't safe. We tend to romanticize ancient natural springs. Crystal clear water flowing from sacred rocks. Very mystical. Very pure. Except sometimes that pure water was flowing straight through mineral deposits loaded with arsenic, fluoride, or other toxins. Without modern testing, people judged water by taste and clarity. If it looked clean, it was clean. Unfortunately, arsenic doesn't come with food coloring. Long-term arsenic exposure causes skin lesions, organ damage, cancer, and neurological issues. But these effects build slowly. So a community could drink from the same beautiful spring for decades, slowly accumulating poison in their bodies, assuming sickness was just fate, curses, or bad humors. Even high-status individuals weren't spared. If the king's favorite spring was contaminated, congratulations. Royal poisoning without an assassin in sight. The tragic part is that water sources were often sacred. People believed they were blessed, healing, divine. So if someone got sick, the solution wasn't to question the water. It was to drink more of it. Picture standing beside a shimmering mountain stream, feeling spiritually refreshed, unaware your cells are quietly filing complaints. Basically, ancient civilizations trusted nature completely. Nature sometimes responded with, "That's adorable." Number 1. The Cookware Conspiracy. Let's end in the kitchen. Because if history teaches us anything, it's that ancient humans could turn a perfectly normal meal into a chemistry experiment without even trying. Across multiple ancient civilizations, Romans, Greeks, early Middle Eastern societies, metal cookware was a status symbol. Bronze, copper, pewter. Shiny. Durable. Impressive. The problem? A lot of it wasn't lined properly, and some of it contained trace amounts of lead or reacted aggressively with acidic foods. Now imagine you're cooking a tomato-based stew in an unlined copper pot. Tomatoes are acidic. Copper is reactive. The acid pulls metal ions into your food. You sit down for dinner, proud of your culinary masterpiece, and unknowingly ingest a metallic side dish. Acute copper toxicity causes nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, basically your body staging an immediate protest. Chronic exposure can lead to liver and kidney damage. And if lead was mixed into the metal alloy? Congratulations, you're back to slow-burning neurological chaos. Pewter was another gamble. Earlier forms often contained significant amounts of lead. So your plate, your cup, your serving bowl, every bite and sip was a small investment in future cognitive decline. And here's the thing, no one suspected the tools. If you got sick after eating, it was the gods, the humors, or maybe your neighbor's suspicious aura. The pot? Innocent. Shiny. Blameless. The real tragedy is how logical it all seemed. Metal is strong. Fire cooks food. Food keeps you alive. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Apparently everything. Ancient civilizations weren't reckless. They were innovative. They experimented, built, refined. But without modern chemistry, they were basically beta testing reality on themselves. Sometimes the result was architecture that lasted millennia. Other times, it was widespread heavy metal poisoning served family style. So next time you microwave leftovers in a container labeled microwave safe, take a quiet moment to appreciate how far we've come. Your dinner isn't secretly dissolving your nervous system. Probably. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.